I'm Ashton Addison from EventChain for Investmentpitch Media and FinTech News Network. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Ramak Sedigh, the founder and CEO of Plouton Mining. Ramak, thanks so much for coming on the show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm excited to dive into cryptocurrency and Bitcoin mining. But first of all, could you start off by speaking about why Bitcoin mining is a great opportunity and that's why you've seized it? And what is the competitive advantage that you have in the industry as you grow?
So let me start with the last part of your question. What we're planning to do, what we have structured to do is to be able to have a penny, 1 cent per kilowatt hour cost for electricity guaranteed over the next 25 years. That's our claim to fame. I have been involved in mining since 2017. I have not had very good experience, even though some have been very profitable. I was one of the people involved in gigawatts that went belly up. I took ownership of the miners as soon as they arrived. So I made okay out of that deal. But generally speaking, mining hasn't been very structured, very consolidated in a sense. Everybody is there rushing it to make money for the next couple of years, and who cares what's going to happen after that. My goal was to answer a more long-term structured deal that offers a pathway in the U.S., with infrastructure and extremely low-cost electricity.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And from what I understand, having that, cents per kilowatt makes a huge difference if you can negotiate or get a deal or have some kind of competitive advantage. And with you guys working with renewable energies, if you could elaborate on that a little bit more, is it a disadvantage over people with traditional electricity, or is it an advantage?
Long term, it's definitely an advantage. Short term, because of the capex, maybe a disadvantage, but the prices have come down. And it's the only way you can control your mining operations destiny, is you take ownership of the peak hours of electricity at least to produce that, because that's the essentially the problem with the utilities. That's where it's the capex issue for them as well. That's why you see every 2 to 3 years, they don't renew contracts, they renege on the existing one, and so forth. So if you can produce the peak hours of electricity, in our case, for free, guaranteed for the next 25 years, which is a warranty period on the solar farm, then the rest is very easy. In California, we can get 2 cents off peak hours on large scale volume for 5 years at a time. So that gives us, literally speaking, an average electricity cost of roughly a penny and maybe 1.1 cents, so forth. Also, you have to realize the location of where we plan to build, where the land is Kern County. That's about 90 miles north of Los Angeles. It is now officially the capital of solar farms in definitely California. It's not in the U.S. There's already 1 gigawatt of solar farm existing operational. There's a company called 8 Minutes. They just signed a contract with LADWP for 3.9 cents per kilowatt, 24/7 from solar farm and battery backup. So they're picking up about 800 acres in Kern County, literally speaking next door to us. So that area. And why solar farm there? Because we get the highest solar rate, we get cool weather temperatures, which is good for the solar panels, and we get, almost literally speaking, with the exception of maybe a dozen or so days out of the year, the rest is sunny as anywhere in California you can find.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. The location sounds like it's very strategically placed. I know previous Bitcoin mining companies have put their facilities in Iceland or in Montreal where it's super cold, but people don't normally expect it to be super cold in California. However, with the solar power advantage, I guess that's the reasoning behind it, would you say?
Actually, yeah. I mean, the area we're in, it's a little short mountainous area. This is, literally speaking, 300 miles east of the Mojave Desert that people know. So it's actually cool. We went to visit the land a couple of weeks ago with our investment bankers. It was 50 degrees, about 38 wind chill factor. So with the exception of summertime, for about 5, 6 hours, that gets to 90 degrees, the rest of the time are really ideal for mining. The temperatures are in the 70s, high 60s, even in summertime in the evening. So I mean, the location is really ideal for this purpose.
Yeah. And to elaborate on that a little bit more, with the proof of work and the ASICs, there's a lot of heat generated, right? And it's either you can make use of that heat or you can use a colder area to, keep naturally cooling, so you don't have to pay as much electricity to also cool the building while you're using the electricity for the miners. So sounds like you guys have something special going on. And I'm curious, are there other solar-powered mining facilities in North America or in California? Are you guys the first people to do this?
I think we're the first and the largest one. I know there was a company that made an announcement in 2018 with William Shatner as their spokesperson, but I don't think they ever broke ground. To me, it was pretty ironic. The location was in Chicago, Illinois. That's probably one of the worst places you could build a solar farm for this purpose. So, but I don't know of any other company that does solar mining, solar powered mining in even on a 1 or 2 megawatt scale.
That's interesting. And now comparing North America to Asia, being in the cryptocurrency industry for a while, I've understood that a lot of the Bitcoin mining pools, and there's a few large groups that control a lot of the mining power for Bitcoin. Most of them are in China or in Asia, from what I'm aware. And I don't know if they're using renewable energies, but what is the competitive advantage to beat them out? Is it having more miners or just having cheaper electricity? Or is it a combination of both? And will you be able to compete with that Chinese market?
Listen, with a penny per kilowatt hour, we can compete with the best of them. I don't think people even get that in China. I know Mongolia had 1 cent per kilowatt till a couple of years ago, which got shut down. Renewable is definitely not renewable, majority of them. The Quebec hydro, the power they have, they're all renewable, but they're not giving what they promised to people either. I mean, one of the perfect examples was Blockstream. They were promised 300 megawatt there. When they got the lease, they went in there to sign the paperwork. They only got 20 megawatt. And it comes back to the same thing, that in order to control your mining operation, which now with the next halving coming up, and the consolidation in the big operation, that's the only way you can survive. That's the only way you can do something meaningful in the mining over the next 10 to 20 years. Again, we're not looking for the next couple of years. It took us a couple of years to position the project to come where we're at. We, literally speaking, made the pivot to make this a full-blown securities offering with all the filings and having an investment banker on record, a FINRA member, broker-dealer. So it took us a couple of years and a little over $1 million to get the project to where it's at now. It is harder. It's definitely not easy. It takes a lot of patience, but I think it's the only way you can position a project for mining and compete with the large Chinese operators, which I think they're getting more and more, reduced. They're getting smaller and smaller in a sense. And I think offering infrastructure ownership, land, data center, solar farm in the U.S., in California, that has much, much better advantage and positioning over anywhere else in the world, because at the end of the day, U.S. provides the most stable infrastructure, economy, and real estate in California. You just can't go wrong with that.
That's great. And from what I understand, you guys are offering more of a traditional investment where people can have ownership in all of these, the infrastructure and the company, and not just a lot of traditional, old Bitcoin methods where, you'd do a cloud mining, or you would get some of the Bitcoin mining that miner was doing. You guys aren't doing that, right?
No, we're offering ownership, equity ownership into the infrastructure, from land to infrastructure to the data center, to the ownership of the miners, to everything. You're going to own a piece of it. We have done the filing for an exempted offering with SEC. And like I said, we do have a broker dealer on file, so we're pretty comfortable at this stage with what we're doing. I don't think long term, honestly, all those ICOs, and we've seen what happened. There's like 5, 6 of them. I mean, Gigawatt did it. There was a German company that did another, 20 million? At some point, they were worth $100 million. They didn't even last 10 months. You just can't. You can't be dependent on the utilities for long-term electricity, cheap long-term electricity. That's just not going to work out.
Yeah. And are you planning on integrating the blockchain with your securities of your company at any point, whether it's putting them on the blockchain or doing some kind of security token?
Correct. So initially, we're offering just traditional, certificate of stock to the investors. It is a company out of Delaware that's going to be issuing the stocks and the ownership of the infrastructure. Delaware passed a law last April allowing us to convert those to digital, essentially tokens, and put it on the blockchain. So long as it's on the blockchain, or this is the funniest thing, or if we can provide a list of the token holders in a spreadsheet, then we can do digitize. And yes, we do plan to do that once we've completed the raise.
That's great. And you guys have a lot ahead after that raise as well. Can you give me a glimpse of what the roadmap looks like in terms of building out and operations after the raise is complete?
So everything we do is on a 90-day lead time from building. The project, the initial phase for 15 to 20 megawatt solar farm, it's not actually something crazy. Like I said, the next project in that area is 300 megawatt solar farm. The one before that was 700 megawatts. So 15 to 20 megawatt is small enough for a manufacturer to carve a piece out and give us within 90 days installed at about 60 cents per kilowatt installed. So we're looking at $600,000 per megawatt. That gives us 25 years of free electricity during peak hours. And everything else from the warehouse to infrastructure, the land is flat. It's in an unincorporated area in Kern County. We literally speaking can pull a permit within 30 days conditional and 90 days full blown. So we expect to be up and running within 6 to 8 months from the raise completion.
That's great. And I'm really curious about that 25 years. What will the Bitcoin price be, 25 years from now? Heaven knows. So thank you so much for your time, Ramak. We're running out of time, but if there are more investors or miners or just viewers that would like to learn more, what's the best way for them to follow along and to reach out?
You can actually go out to our website, PloutonMining.com. You can complete the form to reach us out. You can also reach me. I'm very easy to get a hold of. It's Ramak, RAMAK 101 on any social media handle. We'll be more than happy to discuss further. And yes, we are looking for investors.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. I'll leave those links in the description box below, and let's follow up in the near future.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.